Hi, I'm Paul Lubliner, back with a follow-up to Restoring the Gemini 12. In this video, we're going to revisit the Gemini 12 miniature and perform a much-needed addition. We're going to answer some viewer questions and share some important new information about the Gemini 12, and maybe a surprise or two. We're going to honor the man who designed and built the Gemini 12, Bill Creber. We'll visit the desert area where the Chariot roamed, the Trona Pinnacles. And we're sharing the latest news about the restoration of the original Chariot prop. Lost in Space fans will recognize this location, Red Rock Canyon in the Mojave Desert. We're here to visit the original Gemini 12 crash site and discover some behind-the-scenes secrets. And I think you're going to be thrilled with what we're seeing.
Hey, Paul.
What?
Back off.
I'm blocking it? Excuse me. That's it. The original rock formation the Gemini 12 passed on the way to a crash landing. And would you believe it? The Gemini 12 will fly on the same path it took over 50 years ago. It's going to be another fun ride. I'd like to begin by saying thanks to the hundreds of thousands of viewers who watched our first video and left such kind comments. They are truly appreciated. We'll address some of the comments in a moment. Our first video was dedicated to Irwin Allen, without whom none of this would have happened. This follow-up video is in honor of someone who passed away in the time since we made Restoring the Gemini 12. Bill Creber was the production designer behind the basic look of Lost in Space, and the Gemini 12's sleek exterior was just one of his incredible contributions to the series. And then there's the Chariot, brilliantly built on a chassis of a Thiokol Snowcat. Although it's a film prop, the Chariot was sturdy enough to be able to travel the rough terrain of the Trona Pinnacles, where a camera crew captured hours of color film for later use in the pilot and throughout the series. Many vehicles built for movies and television are only used in the studio or a carefully controlled backlot. The Chariot actually went on location in the Trona Pinnacles. The Trona Pinnacles are about 3 hours northeast of Los Angeles in the Mojave Desert. The Chariot was transported there on a flatbed truck to join a Fox 2nd Unit team. One of the most exotic locations to be found in the continental United States, Lost in Space got there about 30 years ahead of Star Trek and the Planet of the Apes reboot. The Pinnacles prominently appear through the Gemini 12's viewports. A Bell Model 47 helicopter, with its canopy removed, was the platform capturing the Gemini's POV as it headed to the crash site. That same helicopter and camera rig shot backplates for Professor Robinson's jetpack scenes. And finally, the Chariot was unpacked and put into action. Now that I've seen the Trona Pinnacles for myself, I have to give the Fox people incredible credit. They got that Chariot through this valley behind me, and it does feel and look like you are on another planet. We talked to Gene Winfield, a veteran builder of movie and television vehicles, including the Galileo shuttlecraft from Star Trek, the Reactor, also used in Star Trek, and the Man from U.N.C.L.E. car, to name but a few. Gene commented on what it takes to build the Chariot.
When Bill Creber built this vehicle, I understand he did it at the studio. He has to roll sheet metal, to make this, and the corners, the compound curve in the corners, very difficult to make. And he's got 4 of them. This thing looks like it's kind of the same in the front and the rear, and so there's quite a challenge because it has to be driven, so it has to have power and make all these tracks and everything. And I see they have it on location here, Trona Pinnacles. But it's very interesting, and a lot of work went into this vehicle, and he did a wonderful job.
Many of you have seen the Chariot built by Lost in Space fan John Antonellis. He used his own company's construction capabilities for his amazing replica. and fans are able to have the unique experience of seeing John's Chariot operate and even taking a ride in it. But what about the original Chariot prop itself? It was found in 1975 at a defunct ski resort in Big Bear, California. After serving as a transport for skiers and equipment, the Chariot was in desperate shape. A decades-long stay in protected storage followed. Restoration efforts began in 2010, and as of the making of this video, is about 75% complete. So the good news is that one day we will again see the original Chariot. Bill Creber went on to be production designer of the 1968 Planet of the Apes feature film, and did it all over again with his spaceship design named the Icarus by fans. It was yet another timeless vehicle, just like the Gemini 12. The Icarus appeared again in the first Ape sequel. The crash site is in the same vicinity as the Gemini 12 location in Red Rock Canyon, and the studio's Jupiter 2 ramps were included in the wreck. Bill pioneered new techniques to render the look of the Apes City. A few years later, Bill worked again for Irwin Allen on the Poseidon Adventure and the Towering Inferno. Bill appeared in one of Mike Clark's panels at the 1998 Lost in Space Return to Earth convention, and had this to say about his work for the show.
We did that pilot, we probably had 2 months to think about it and get it underway. And you manufacture the drawings, get the set going, get it approved, get the budget done, figure out how to do it. And we didn't have a lifetime to worry about it. And movies are still made that way. I mean, anybody that gets 12 weeks to prepare a feature film is in luxury.
Mike attended Bill's final public appearance at the American Cinematheque in Hollywood. Bill enthralled the audience of movie and TV fans with anecdotes of his career, and of course, the biggest reaction came from his work on Lost in Space. There's a lot more to Bill Creber, and you can read about him on IMDb. But in the meantime, we wanted to dedicate this video to his memory. Before we turn our attention back to the Gemini 12, I have some feedback from our first video to share. Many people said that we were mispronouncing the name of the ship. It should be the Gemini instead of Gemini. Part of this involves regional pronunciations and perhaps generational factors. At the time of the program, NASA issued an official memo listing Gemini as a correct pronunciation. But we pronounce the ship Gemini because that's how it's done in the pilot.
Here now is the Gemini 12, the culmination of nearly 40 years of intensive research and the most sophisticated piece of hardware yet devised by the mind of man.
So, no one's going to jail because of their pronunciation, Gemini, Gemini. It's all good. Now to address something we really did get wrong, or at least partially wrong. Our statement of docking of 2 capsules was not correct. At the time of the Lost in Space pilot's production in January 1965, the Gemini program had only tested unmanned vehicles. It wasn't until March 1966 that Gemini 8, commanded by future Apollo 11 astronaut Neil Armstrong, rendezvoused and docked with an unmanned Agena space vehicle. The missions of Geminis 10, 11, and 12 successfully accomplished 2 manned capsules docking in orbit. The final NASA Gemini mission, coincidentally named Gemini 12, was conducted in November 1966. Some viewers also question whether the Gemini 12's name was inspired by the NASA program or by Irwin Allen's birthday, June 12th, which is under the zodiac sign of Gemini. Mr. Allen's birthday was referenced in other series such as Land of the Giants and The City Beneath the Sea pilot. But it's our position that the Gemini name from the NASA program was more familiar to the CBS executives who would be buying the series rather than the obscure reference to Mr. Allen's birthday. It was convenient that Mr. Allen was a Gemini, but that was just icing on the cake for the production. In our first video, we saw the launch pad Gemini 12, which looked lighter than the medium gray paint job seen in the Red Rock Canyon crash sequence. The ship was even nudging white as it appeared on film. We originally thought it was due to the use of an optical printer, which added the glow to the ship during takeoff. Optical printers can change the brightness and contrast of elements, and we thought it made the Gemini 12 look overexposed. For a while, Mike wondered if the Gemini miniature had received an off-white paint job to provide a better matte for the glow effect. I saw no evidence of that during my restoration work, and we were both scratching our heads. Then, Mark Myers came to the rescue when he took a Mobius built-up, painted in authentic colors, and recreated the liftoff, but as the Jupiter 2. Notice how Mark's paint job nudges white along the top. It turns out that focusing a lot of light on a miniature will raise its luminance to almost 100%. While this provided the Fox effects department with a clear matte, it really pushed the ship's true shade into another level. Thanks, Mark. Great job.
My pleasure, Paul. Anytime.
In our first video, we traced the history of the Gemini 12 miniature from its construction at the Fox lot in late 1964 to the restoration I completed in 2015. However, there was a missing link in the history. We know about the hatchet job done on the Gemini and Jupiter 2 miniatures for City Beneath the Sea in 1970. But when and where did the Gemini get that temporary restoration before its appearance at the 1980 Hollywood auction? We went in search of an answer and found it in a program called In Search Of. And there's a Star Trek connection. Back in the late 1970s and early 1980s, Leonard Nimoy hosted a documentary series that explored unusual and unexplained mysteries called In Search Of. A 1980 episode dealt with the discovery of a crashed UFO. And guess who played the UFO? Our own Gemini 12, quickly patched up and set in the dunes of a desert location. That is the missing link, and explains how the Gemini appeared the way it did later that year on the auction block. As Mr. Nimoy would have said, and now you know. I'm back with the Gemini for a follow-up video because I received some interesting observations about something that was missing. And what was missing is right here under this dome. As you can see, there's nothing there. If you remember back to our first video, we had some second unit shots taken at Red Rock Canyon, where you could see there was something going on under that dome. In the later Jupiter 2, they had what was referred to as a scanner, which in a way looked like a taco shell. But when we looked very closely, frame by frame, on the original footage, there appeared to be what looked like a regular World War II style elliptical radar dish. And you can see it spinning very clearly in that footage. And what I did was analyze each frame and basically extract the contours from the footage. So it's as close as one can get knowing the size of the dome, and gauging it and scaling it based on the images in the original footage. No blueprints have been turned up for this piece. Here's what I came up with. It's primarily made out of sheet aluminum that was hand cut on a pantograph milling machine to get the accurate perimeter shape. It was then rolled using a bar of metal on a piece of sheet rubber, and that's how it has this nice curvature. As it's rotated, you'll notice how it reflects the light, and when spinning, some people actually thought it was a beacon. You'll also notice it has a radar horn, it's called, as on real ones, and this little pinnacle here I use as a handle for installing and removing from the Gemini 12. All one need do is press it onto the motor shaft already in place. There's a keyless remote involved here. You push the button. The power for the radar spinning is provided by a Swiss gearhead motor, similar to the one used in a fusion core. The motor is mounted under the dome and out of sight. That's why you didn't see it when I lifted the dome, but it's in there. This is set at 1 speed because, frankly, there isn't enough room to put more speed controllers in there, and there really isn't much of a need for one. What we now have here is a fully finished and functional Gemini 12. Spinning radar, multiple speed fusion core, full interior lights, everything that was visible and as presented in the original pilot episode of Lost in Space. To make certain the Gemini 12 would never again be lost in space or here on Earth, it was thought to be a good idea to have a digital copy made. Once something's been digitized, you can do any number of things with this information. This is Q+ Labs in Irvine, California. It has been acknowledged as the premier digitizing facility in the Western United States, providing 3D scanning and computer manipulation for industry and the entertainment field. Q+ is operated by my friends and Lost in Space enthusiasts, Lola and Mike Knicker. After its restoration, the Gemini 12 was brought to their state-of-the-art facility, and their Steinbichler optical 3D scanner was used to render a completely accurate computer model. How accurate, you ask? I am told accurate to 50 microns, which is a fraction of a human hair in width. There now exists the complete and absolutely accurate record of the Gemini 12 in its most minute contour and dimension. It mainly exists as a safeguard in case of anything that might happen to the actual model. California is prone to earthquakes and fires, so this is a backup, meaning there will always be a Gemini 12. Okay, I'm very happy with the overall results, all the lights, the radar spinning. Well, oh, 1 second. Yeah, if we tilt it like this, you can see the amber lights inside nicely. Yeah, that's good. Just having a little fun with you guys. What you're looking at is a 1/5 scale, computer-generated, three-dimensionally printed replica of the original ship. I needed to scan the windows, and when they did that, they got the shape, so we have the whole ship. The fusion core on this one-off model is sheathed in nickel silver. It's actual metal. The remainder of the hull is 3D printed ABS plastic. The internals are all designed in a computer by myself. I do have many years as a tool and die engineer. The paint finish on this small version is a miniaturized, textured version of the original full-size ship. It has the same grit, but also miniaturized, shrunken down. It glistens and glints just as the original one did. I hope you like what I've done so far. Right now, it's a one-of-a-kind. Let's see what happens. Join us in part 2 as we tour the original Gemini 12 approach to the crash site, Red Rock Canyon. See what it takes to plan a recreation of the impact.
So these are 2 towers. It's the bottom one that's scary.
And the problem is that...
because the ground is uneven.
And build a working replica of the original miniature. Face the obstacles of a remote desert location. You got the outcroppings rising up there. They put it over that way.
They might have, but there's no way that it's stable over there.
Can a small group of aging enthusiasts pull this off? Coming up on part 2 of Relaunching the Gemini 12.